Good morning. Welcome into 5 Clubs here on Golf Channel and also PGA Tour Radio, Channel 92 on Sirius XM. I'm Gary Williams. Great to have you with us. This program is always brought to you by Century Insurance. If you have business insurance needs, they will meet them. They are right by you, and they invest in golf in great ways with the USGA and with the First Tee. Golf Pride, when it comes to grips and options and the quality of their materials, they are unmatched. They are trusted by more players around the world at every level. Peter Millar, everything I have worn for 15 years, including this sport coat, this tie, this shirt, this pocket square, everything, whatever your needs are, apparel on the course and off the course, they will meet them right down to your shoes. The Odeons that I'm wearing right now, the best engineered new shoe they have ever made. They're available right now. And of course, the cradle of American golf is Pinehurst. I saw pictures yesterday of the new Station 21 restaurant at Pinehurst number 10 in the Sand Mines, that great new addition. And of course, construction of number 11 is coming soon. Book a trip, because when you go, you'll say, there's no more that I could possibly do on the course and off. We're going to do as much as we can over the next hour because we're jammed up. It's a getaway day for us on a Wednesday. Let me just say, though, that rarely are there good mail days. Once a quarter. Golfers Journal, thank you. Thank you to Brandon Thomas. Thank you to Tom Coyne. Once every 3 months, something good comes in the mail. That right there is platinum. That is, if you love golf, you better be subscribing to Golfers Journal. I have not motivated by any reason to tell you that other than it's great, and you will be enriched more in your life in golf if you are a subscriber. All right, here's what we have for you on a Wednesday. Dan Hicks last night, he hosted the Payne Stewart Award on Golf Channel. It was a wonderful evening. He's going to join me in less than 15 minutes. And then a little bit after the bottom of the hour, Harris English, who will be on that United States Ryder Cup team. He's got a press conference the top of the next hour. Before that, he's going to spend about 15 minutes with me, talk about his year. We'll look ahead to not only this week in the Tour Championship, we will also talk about the Ryder Cup because he's going to be on his second Ryder Cup team. And I can promise you we will talk some SEC football and some Georgia Bulldog football as well with Harris English. I want to mention, though, before I get into some items, before Dan joins me, that last night when he hosted that event, I think the Payne Stewart Award, it's a wonderful evening. It's a very elegant evening. It's very refined. It's very warm. It's very loving. It's nostalgic. They bring out all these guys who have been recipients of the award, many of them contemporaries of Payne Stewart. And you looked at those guys last night, and you look at them like all of us in our advancing age, and you think about all that they have done in the game of golf, but more importantly, it's all that they are trying to give back to the game of golf. And let me just say this about Paul Azinger, who is the recipient, and I said this yesterday. Last night was going to be exceedingly personal because of his real bona fide relationship, kinship, and love for Payne. He was part of what was the ceremony, the eulogy, his funeral after his sudden and tragic passing in October of 1999. Paul delivered in a very profound way last night. Paul has got righteousness inside of him. He's got depth to him when he starts talking about things that matter to him. I thought he struck all the right chords. I thought it was fantastic. And also very emotional in a really, really good way. And credit to the number of PGA Tour players who were in the field this week at the Tour Championship, from Chris Gotterup and Akshay Bhatia, and I can go on and on to the number of guys who were there, including Justin Rose and Rory McIlroy, who joined Dan Hicks on the stage there for a couple of minutes. Justin Rose has got an eloquence about him that's why he's already been a recipient of the Payne Stewart Award. So a really nice evening, a good evening for the PGA Tour, and kudos to Paul Azinger for nailing it. All right, one of the things that I want to get to, because it was released yesterday, as a matter of fact, Josh Carpenter, who's been as good as anybody in terms of giving you information with respect to the business of a professional golf. He's been in this studio a handful of times from the Sports Business Journal. He led, so I saw the schedule for next year. And it's not like they're big, significant changes. It's not like the NFL that can turn their schedule release into a week-long, NFL-palooza. But when we look at this schedule, this is very institutionalized right here, this first page. No real changes. One thing on the far right side, you see those asterisks that are denoting signature series events, and certainly starting with that shorter field at the Century, which is now, short fields are a big part of what the schedule is on the PGA Tour. So if you're a rookie or a Korn Ferry Tour graduate, or guys that are outside a number that puts you in kind of a perilous position, you know, you better perform, you better be productive, because you start seeing all those asterisks noted events, AT&T Pebble Beach, and then the week after that, the Genesis Tigers event, and then you get to another section of the schedule, which very, very similar to what we have had. And you get to the Florida Swing, and there is a uniformity to it. And, you know, you start down there at Palm Beach Gardens, and then obviously to the API Arnold's event and a signature series event, opposite field, same week in Puerto Rico, on to the Players, the Valspar, which has found a very comfortable home there on the back end of the Players Championship, a little Texas two-step there. This next page is where it gets kind of hairy. And when I say hairy, I mean, my gosh. From the Masters tournament to the back ending of a signature series event, and the RBC deserves it. They've been a great sponsor for the PGA Tour, a loyal investor in the PGA Tour. So from the Masters to a signature series event to a team event, to look at that event right there, April 30th to May 3rd, Doral returns the Miami Championship, and they will have a sponsor that's going to pony up the $20 million for what will be another signature series event that will be the 9th, followed by another signature series event, the Truist Championship, in its second year, returning to Quail Hollow after being at Philly Cricket Club. You got an opposite field event for the third year at Myrtle Beach that same week as the Truist, and then the PGA Championship. Really? Now let's move on, but we're going to come back to this here. So beyond the PGA Championship, then you have another Texas two-step with the Nelson and the Schwab there, the Colonial, which again, I think Schwab's done a very effective job at one of the great historic sites. They're a little bit later date. They're not butt up against the back end of that PGA Championship. Memorial in their customary position there at the beginning of June. They get a little gap before the U.S. Open at Shinnecock. And there you see the final signature series event in the month of June. So we're going to start summer, and then the signature series will be over. And then as we go into the month of July, and this is where it gets kind of interesting, because I think it's great that the Genesis Scottish Open has what it has now as a co-sanctioned event with the DP World Tour. And again, you give DP World Tour members an opportunity to come to the States the same week with an opposite field event at the ISCO Championship. Of course, Birkdale for the Open Championship. And then on the back end of that, you have the 3M, the Rocket Mortgage with a later date, and the Wyndham with their customary date, which is the final regular season event, which is, again, a little bit later, but right before the final three events of the season, which are the FedEx Cup playoffs. Memphis, the BMW Championship will go to the city of St. Louis at Belle Reve, which has good history, including major championship history. And then obviously with Eastlake, truly at the end of August, which will run right into week 0 of college football in 2026. But I want to go back to that period there where the Masters is global renewal. Because in all parts of this country, we're not only thinking about golf, we're actually participating in golf by the month of April, including places up in the Northeast Corridor, in the Midwest. And it may still be chilly and the turf conditions may not be ideal, but nonetheless, you're playing golf. And that is what it is. It's the rite of spring. But what the PGA Tour has done by inserting another signature series event at the end of the month of April, before the Truist Championship, makes me think, what's on the mind of Truist this morning? Because here we are investing $200 million into the PGA Tour, and you're going to jam another signature series event in front of us, and then we've got a major championship behind us. And if you don't think that there will not be some attrition to participation of the best players in the world during that stretch, with the density of Signature Series events bracketed by the first and second major championship of the season, you haven't been paying attention. Let's just wait and see. But I would say, because we know what Doral and who owns Doral, the President of the United States. That will be an absolute spectacle. And that can be good for the PGA Tour. But it also, again, in terms of how much are these guys going to play golf? We saw this year that one of the true, real stars on the PGA Tour made choices to not play in multiple Signature Series events. Rory McIlroy was asked that question yesterday. He said, I don't know, I may play more, I may play the same. I don't know. Here's one thing I would say about Quail Hollow in the Truist. A couple things they have going for him. Rory's relationship, his level of success here, and then Scottie having won the PGA Championship here, you would think that he would play, and those are the two most important commodities, which leads me to Club 5. We've done this, not every week, but we've done it when we feel like it was necessary to do our little update of our own kind of heat index, because the person who wins Club 5 as we come down the stretch here is going to be the recipient of this glorious, available to you at petermillar.com now. Truly, you can get that walnut window pane sport coat, but the winner of Club 5 is going to get that jacket. Come on, do we not know where it's going? But we do the exercise anyway. And this week, we start our Club 5 with a guy who is built to be in the club. Come on, does Tommy Fleetwood not look like he can't sashay into the club and stay there until the lights come up? He deserves to be there for this reason. When you take it in the chops like he has, and he continues to get back on the horse and produce top fives, you look at his last handful of starts, a second, a third, a fourth. It would be ironic if he won this week and he won the FedEx Cup. Good for you, Tommy. You deserve to be in the club. At number 4, a fellow Brit. He won a couple of weeks ago, Justin Rose. Whatever was going to happen at the BMW was going to happen, but Justin Rose, he deserves to be at number 4 right there. It's not just that he won, he was building. He knew that he had to continue to make a good positive impression on Luke Donald. He made it emphatically by winning in Memphis in that playoff. He's at number 4. At number 3, little slippage. Rory slips to 3 for this reason. He hadn't played much, and look, a tie for 12th at the BMW that's very fine and admirable as he knocks the rust off. But the truth is that with the level of inactivity, and he hadn't won a golf tournament since the springtime, I thought it was appropriate to knock him down a peg for this reason. The guy right now at number 2 won a golf tournament a couple weeks ago, but he knew, Cam Young, that that wasn't going to be enough. There are a handful of players that have true pressure to continue to make good impressions on captains. He is chief among them. And what did he do after he won the Wyndham? Finished 5th at Memphis. In the last week, he opened with 74, and he still finished tied for 11th at the BMW Championship. He will be on that United States Ryder Cup team, and it's not because he won that one golf tournament. It's because he's backed it up with very good performances beyond that. And secondly, he has become a very effective putter. Rory, Cam Young, and the guy at number 1 are examples that you can turn deficiencies into assets/strengths. Rory McIlroy, Cam Young, and Scottie Scheffler have exponentially improved themselves in their putting stats this year. Scottie Scheffler is a freak. 13 straight top 8 performances. You got to go back to Weiskopf in '73 when it was pro slits and Sanzabels and cardigans that were 4-ply cashmere, by the way. He's looking to go for his 14th straight top 8. The last guy to do that, Hogan in the 50s, when they were like, I'm not going to even say the number because I don't want it to seem like I'm disrespecting fields in the 50s, but they're slightly deeper now. Scheffler is going to get that jacket, and he will not wear it to all the holiday parties he will not attend in the Metroplex of Dallas. All right, we take a break. When we continue, he was Natalie clad last night. Dan Hicks, he is the anchor of golf on NBC Golf Channel. His thoughts about the evening last night with his longtime mate there in the 18th tower, Paul Azinger. And also this week, this season, why have the ratings been so good in the Keegan situation? His perspective on that as well. A little bit later on, Harris English. We got dogs, we got picks, we got a lot to get to. That's why we break now. Dan Hicks next on 5 Clubs. Back in on this Wednesday here on 5 Clubs Golf Channel. Also, you can listen. That is Channel 92 on PGA Tour Radio on Sirius XM. In this segment brought to you by Pinehurst, the cradle of American golf. The new clubhouse at number 10 looks fantastic. Every time you go back there, I promise you there'll be something new that they are offering you on and off the golf course at the cradle of American golf. He's been there a lot. He's been everywhere because he is the anchor of golf on NBC Golf Channel. Last night, he hosted the Payne Stewart Award. It's one of the most warm and really nourishing evenings that the game of golf has. And I know it meant a lot to him last night as Payne Stewart's dear friend, Paul Azinger, was the recipient of the award. He joins me from Atlanta this morning. He, of course, is Dan Hicks. My friend, good morning. How you feeling?
I'm doing great, Gary. Just coming off another great night. The Payne Stewart Award is what we call one of those undefeated nights, right? You know what you're getting into. You know it's going to be special. But I think with all the connections that Zing had with Payne, truly his closest friend to be a part of that group, the Payne Stewart Award, it was knew it was going to be a special night. But our pal Zing just hit it out of the park with his comments. It was heartfelt. Really, really a great night, as always.
It was, and I was saying, Dan, you know, representation from basically a third of the field in the Tour Championship. Spent a couple minutes with Justin Rose, with Rory, all these past recipients. You knew how personal last night was going to be, but for you, to see somebody who you spent all those days and nights and rental car rides and you name it with Zinger, and you said it like he used to say to you, you crushed it. To hear him speak with the righteousness and with the soul that he spoke last night had to really get to you, didn't it?
Absolutely. I saw Zing before the ceremony. He was a little nervous, and he's all over the place. I mean, you know, Zing's got all these things racing through his mind. Should I tell this story? Should I do this? Should I do that? I said, Zing, just do yourself. Be yourself, because that's what people want. That's why you were so close with Payne. You guys were just two pals who were so much alike. And so you never know what you're really going to get from Zing, right? He kept talking about how he was going off the teleprompter a little bit, and he was going off a lot because he had so many things racing through his mind that he wanted to touch. But I just thought the end of the speech just absolutely blew me away, and he'd never really told anybody about when he found out about Payne's death. And just the way he shared it with the crowd and the television audience, that he just, his knees buckled. And that's the moment where during the speech that he really kind of lost it, and rightly so. But you could just see the emotion that was going through him again when he was talking about losing his good friend. It was a powerful, powerful moment. It's a powerful night, even without a guy like Zing who knew Payne as well as anybody did. But Zing just really brought the night to a whole nother level. And those guys that you said were there, those PGA Tour players, some of them there for the very first time. You look out in the audience, and there's, you know, an Akshay Bhatia, and there's a Chris Gotterup, and you see their eyes just kind of wide open, just saying, "Wow, this is a cool night." They'd never seen anything like this, and it gets them all thinking, you know, like, yeah, it's great to have that great career, but what else are you gonna do? How else are you gonna level it all up? So it's just a fantastic night.
You know, I've never asked you this. He replaces Johnny Miller, and you're there after all those years, you and Johnny, you see this transition, but you follow Dick Enberg. So you know the enormity of replacing somebody of that ilk. Did you ever have any conversations with Paul about, hey man, just you've done this so long, just be you, because Johnny's one of one, and you know that Enberg was one of one. Just him taking on that role, similar but with different responsibilities than you did when Dick left.
Absolutely. Johnny was probably the most impactful broadcaster in the history of what we do in golf broadcasting. He just talked about bringing it to a new level. I mean, Johnny was Johnny. There's never going to be another one of them. And that was kind of the message to Zing when he was pacing around our 18th tower during the transition when we brought Zing into the booth. That was at the WM Open,
yes,
Phoenix, back in 2019. I'll never forget it. And I can see Zing in the back. Johnny's with us in the booth, and we're doing our thing, calling the golf tournament. And Zing is pacing back and forth in the 18th tower. I knew he was nervous. I knew it was a lot for him to take on. But I told Zing, I go, you be yourself. Be yourself. You're going to be just fine. So he brought in these huge golf shoes. I don't know if you remember it, to the telecast, to the booth.
Yeah.
And he goes, well, Johnny, it's not going to be easy replacing you. You get big shoes to fill. He brought these like size 15 golf shoes into the tower just to kind of bring some levity to the whole situation. But I also think Zing is very similar to Johnny. And we saw a little bit of that last night. There's not a lot of filter there at times, which is good. That's a good thing in broadcasting, as long as you know how to ride that line. And Zinger just spoke from the heart, and I think that came across with his telecast just like it did with Johnny.
Dan, this year has been very good across the board ratings-wise. Continued again last week, big numbers at the BMW Championship, and you can say, well, the number one player in the world won. But again, I can go all the way back after kind of, I think people overreacted at the beginning of the year. You're dealing with football still, a lot of the top players not in fields. Do you have any theory as to why this year has been as good as it's been consistently, week in and week out, as far as the audience?
Great stories. I think it got off to, it had a great momentum off the West Coast. CBS did a great job. Great stories they had. Big stars winning. And then we got into to our section, and I think we had just as good of stories. The superstars don't always have to win, so we kind of started building some momentum with some new guys and telling their stories. So I think as we got around to the summertime, and then we're still not into football, so that helps, doesn't it? Yes. And I think that the Scottie Scheffler talent level and stardom is beginning to resonate. You saw it last week. I couldn't help but think of the Patrick Mahomes, LeBron James tweets. He even got a tweet from the president. I think it's now resonating, his greatness. And he got his moment, right, with that chip in at 17, which was just sensational. You know, I think if Tiger Woods had chipped that in at the BMW at 17, you would have seen triple, quadruple fist pumps and a pirouette and a Michael Jackson moonwalk across the green. Scottie and Kisner and I were talking about it after he's just kind of businesslike. Raised the putter up. There's still another hole to go. Still business to be had. And that's really kind of his mentality, because you just know he was moving on to the Tour Championship not too long after he put away the BMW Championship to solidify himself as an overwhelming favorite this week among the top 30.
You know, as somebody who is, you're in the tower, and the connectivity between the tower and the production truck, there's a synergy there. You guys see everything, every mannerism. You get to know these players, and over the last 25 years, you've called all these shots of all the great players, from Tommy Randolph to Tommy Roy to the whole broadcast team. What is it about Scheffler, yourself, and maybe as a group, that you find particularly captivating?
The alarming consistency, the unbelievable week in, week out dedication. It's a lot like Tiger, because when he goes to play a golf tournament, it's not out there he never mails it in. I guess that's maybe the simplest way of putting it. Every single time we're beginning to expect excellence at a level that is Tiger-esque, and sometimes in some instances beyond that. Did we ever think we'd say that? So it's been 2 years plus on this trail, on this unbelievable journey with Scheffler, and he's showing no signs of backing off. I think that's what we probably have discovered mostly, is that every single time he tees it up, even if he doesn't have the A game, he's going to be hanging around the leaderboard. These streaks of rounds in the 60s now at 17 or 18 or whatever they are. I mean, you start taking a dive into these numbers, Gary, and it's really, really special stuff. I don't see anything that's going to derail it. I think Scottie is the perfect makeup for a dominating golfer. He doesn't care about the fame. He doesn't care about another $10 million at stake for first place prize this week. He really, I think, could care less about it. It helps. He loves it. There's no doubt about it. But he goes out to beat somebody's butt every day, every time he goes out to win a golf tournament. Doesn't care about the fame or the fortune. Let's go on to the next one after he puts away the latest. So I think that's a perfect formula. He doesn't get caught up in any of the hoopla. He's the #1 golfer in the world. Don't think he especially loves all the attention, but he's gotten to the point where he knows how to deal with it. And yeah, boy, watching excellence. That's pretty special in sports at this level.
No, that's so well said. Like you said, he doesn't thirst for the attention, but he has a comfort in being watched, which is rare. But most people want attention, but don't want to be watched. He's good with both, but not desiring the one thing that most of us do. The Keegan thing. Well, what is your view of this? Like, I mean, at the beginning of the year, it's like, oh, this is kind of fun. Hey, he's good enough. But come on, let's be honest. Here we sit. What do you think?
I know. It's here we are. We're building, and we're at the moment of truth here, right? We've got Wednesday after the Tour Championship, and Keegan has to address the media. I'm just still wondering, Gary, if we're going to get to that moment, and we're honestly not going to know, because I think we honestly, at least the people from the outside looking in, honestly don't know what he's going to do. My opinion on this whole thing has kind of gone back and forth. There's a part of me that says, go play ball, Keegan. You've had this incredible season. You never know how many Ryder Cups are going to come around that you're going to have a chance to play and be the caliber of player that you still are to be able to play in it. But another part of me just says, gosh, there's so much going on. There's so much to do. You know, maybe this could have happened several years ago, but just the responsibilities of a captain are immense. And it's not for me to say, but if he goes out and he does do the player captain dual role, and they don't do so well, and Keegan doesn't do so well, it's not going to be pretty aftermath. And I know that that's not what these guys need to think about or want to think about is, oh, the what ifs, what if I fail, or what if it doesn't work out. But that's a scenario that I think you at least have to put in the back of your mind as you're contemplating whether you should be on that team. Right now, no doubt about it, right? Any other captain should pick him, would pick him, but this is a really this is why this Ryder Cup, there's so much anticipation for it. Bethpage, Keegan Bradley played the golf course, the red course growing up, going to St. John's. It's got a lot going on, and the Ryder Cup has even more going on with this Keegan Bradley playing captain ? Scenario. So I honestly don't know what he's going to do. There's people that are saying, oh, he's playing. I don't know if that's really the case. He's got a Tour Championship to play in here first, and we'll see how he does.
All right, let's get Dan Hicks out of here. 5 quick questions to go. For people who don't know, he loves the music. He, Hannah, the girls, they love the music. The best musical act you've seen this summer is?
Stagecoach Festival, which follows Coachella. Zach Bryan, Jelly Roll, Luke Combs were the headliners. I went out there with my wife, and we had an absolute blast.
All right, you also love the swag. The best logo swag purchase for Dan Hicks this summer has been?
Well, I would say Wingfoot, which is my home club, but I've got way too much of that. So I will say the Duke's Natterjack Toad logo when we did a little Ireland golf trip back. I got a nice little quarter zip with the frog logo of Duke's down there.
Very underrated spot. That is a very sleepy, great little joint. All right.
Great logo too. Best logo.
Great logo. All right. What is the most indispensable item you have in your backpack?
Wow. I got a lot of stuff. You know what? It's an IFB. I know that sounds boring, but last night at the Payne Stewart Award, they would have given me the stock. You know, the IFBs are for those of you who don't know, is a little curly cue that goes in your ear so you can hear what the producer's saying. If you don't have your own customized one, that thing's falling out and you're tucking it in. I bring that with me everywhere on the road for live shots. So I would say that. Not a great answer, but that's my answer.
I forgot mine in Scotland last week. Not enjoyable.
You paid the price.
I did indeed.
Not good.
All right, give me the NBC golf team member who has the best taste in finding restaurants in every market.
Wow. Maybe myself. You know,
wow.
I think when Roger Maltby, I'll tell you this, when Roger Maltby and Jimmy Roberts were traveling with us more, we don't see those guys as much. Jimmy Roberts was the all-time pro. They used to call him Meals on Wheels because he could travel on the road and pick out the best spots. He knew where they all were. And Raj could find a steak joint and, in his words, do a little cow in red. So with a nod to those guys, I think I've now taken over the mantle. It's a big responsibility.
No question. All right, last thing, the show you've been binging or binged recently that you would recommend?
Wow. I got a couple going. I'm finishing up Late to the Party to the White Lotus, but Hunting Wives? Oh, my God. My daughter said, Dad, you got to check it out. It's absolutely insane. After I watched the first episode, I did the family text, and I go, you're correct. It's absolutely nuts. Hunting Wives. If you can live through it, you'll have a good time.
How about the first 15 minutes of the first episode? I'm like, I hope my wife doesn't walk in this room right now.
I think I was watching it on a plane the other day, and I'm kind of like going like, I got my laptop, and I'm turning it around like this, just hoping that no one sees what I'm watching. Is that Dan Hicks, the golf guy? What is that? Oh, my God, he's watching Hunting Wives?
All right, my friend, great job last night. The suit was cash money. Cash money.
Trying to keep it to a level of the walnut Peter Millar jacket that's on the line, and so it was kind of a homage to Five Clubs and the Natalie attire Gary Williams.
Thank you. Have a great week. Really appreciate the time as always.
Take care, Gary. Always good to be with you. Take care.
Thanks, buddy. That is Dan Hicks. Of course, he'll be anchoring the coverage on NBC Tour Championship in Atlanta at East Lake. We take a break. We'll go back to East Lake specifically because Harris English will join us next here on this Wednesday on Five Clubs. Back in on this Wednesday edition of Five Clubs here, Golf Channel, but also you can listen as well. PGA Tour Radio, that's Channel 92 on Sirius XM. This segment brought to you by Peter Millar. The newest shoe they've got is the Odeon. I'm wearing them now. Best engineered shoe they have ever made. The fall line is available at petermillar.com. Whatever your needs are, on the course or off, they have got you covered. It is Peter Millar. All right, when you think about players who have periods in their career where they crescendo and you're going, okay, how long will that last? Well, for a lot of guys, it lasts for a while, and then things can happen like injury. Well, the guy who's joining me now dealt with it after having the best year of his career. Well, he is back at the Tour Championship. He's 11th in the FedEx Cup standings heading into this week. He won the Farmers Insurance Open. He is on the United States Ryder Cup team. He'd rather talk about Georgia football. I'll indulge him at the end. That, of course, Harris English. Good morning. How are you, my friend?
Gary, thanks for having me, man. Glad to be on. Just got to the course here at East Lake and ready to get started.
I know you got a presser top of the hour, so let's get you warmed up with some softballs, with me asking you some questions. I mentioned the Farmers. You know, Harris, the thing I found most impressive and interesting was some comments that Justin Parsons, who you work with, your swing instructor, said. It wasn't just that week, it was about you. It was about the idea that, you know what, you got to maximize whatever the round is going to give you. When you got to grind, you got to grind and salvage things and get the most out of your rounds. You did that Sunday. How much does that affect your self-belief when it's not just making everything, it's making pars, it's maintaining the lead, and it's closing a golf tournament?
Yeah, it's huge. It's huge. That's kind of how I've built my game. I mean, over a 4-round tournament, you're not going to have your A game every day. And that Sunday, I didn't have my A game, but I had to figure it out. You're dealt with some certain situations and stuff that's not going great, but you got to figure out where do I put my ball in the next position to give myself the best chance to make par. And I feel like I really did that the final round. It was cold, it was windy, it was tough. I love rounds like that. Personally, because I feel like I don't have to be perfect. But I stayed within myself. I kept grinding. I kept missing in the right spots and leaned heavily on my short game while putting and ended up getting the job done. So that just tells me after the tournament that even though I didn't have my A game, I can still salvage something respectable.
You know, I mentioned the injury, and you have this year that gets you to Whistling Straits. You win a couple of times, and then you have to have surgery. What did you need from everybody around you? Because belief is an interesting thing. Whatever it is that you do. Did you need more from your wife? Did you need more from your family to ensure you will be who you once were before? Or did you have enough inside of you that you could rely on knowing that once I'm healthy, I will be who I was before?
Yeah, I mean, my wife was huge. My team around me in St. Simons and out in Vail, Colorado were massive. Helping me get through that, helping build me back up, and telling me and instilling me that I can get back on top. I can get back to playing and competing in majors, trying to get back to a Ryder Cup team, which is always a massive goal of mine. So they were massive in helping me get back. It's been an awesome run this year, and played some really good golf, and really built some good habits and good systems back home to help me compete and be the best version of myself when the gun goes off on Thursday.
You know, I've been lucky to cover your whole career. You know, Walker Cup, your rookie year, 2012. The rare and frequent interludes with your dad, who's just one of the most delightful people in the world. And to see it, it's fun to watch people, you know, have the success that you've had. But I say that because I wonder to you, how much has changed in the locker room, on the practice tee, the culture of the PGA Tour? How much is different between then and now?
It's so much different. I remember my first few years on tour, I wouldn't say guys took it as serious as they do now. I mean, just yesterday, I mean, the workout trailer opens at 7 a.m. and who's the first person in the workout trailer is Scottie Scheffler. And that's really cool for me to see this is the best player in the world. He's been the best player in the world for a long time now. And he's working his tail off, and he's the first player here getting ready to play at Eastlake and try to win the event. He just came off an unbelievable performance at Caves Valley, and he never lets up. He never relaxes. He is relentless in the way he works and the way he prepares, and that inspires me to get better and to really tighten down my habits and my systems of, hey, if I want to compete with this guy, if I want to beat this guy, I've got to work just as hard or harder than he is, and it's really hard to outwork him. And it's a really cool culture now on tour of, you see a lot of more guys working out. Guys are way more diligent in their practice and methodical about how they're getting around the golf course. And it's really cool to see that evolve from, I've been on tour now for 14 years, and I feel like I'm one of the older guys now, but it's really cool to see that evolve. And all these guys are so good. And the kid from my hometown, Mason Howell, just won the U.S. Amateur, so it's awesome seeing these young kids coming up, and they're more than ever ready to play on a high level, on a high stage. So it's cool to see.
You mentioned what a priority Ryder Cup is. You know, in the NCAAs, when they flipped to match play, you experienced that, and Walker Cup, and obviously Ryder Cup. Confrontational golf. Look, you don't literally put mitts on each other, but it's different. Do you have to adjust kind of your mindset, your psychology, when you go out there on the first hole in a match play situation, and there was a result on every hole? Do you have to get comfortable with confrontation, or are you okay with it?
Yeah, for me, I'm not great at dealing with confrontation. I feel like I'm friends with everybody out here. I see the good in everybody out here. I like playing with a lot of different people, and I'm friends with a lot of guys on the European Tour. They've always been really nice to me, and I enjoy playing with them, but it definitely changes at the Ryder Cup. I've got to switch into a different mode. For me, it's like walking up 18 in a major, but every hole like that is the Ryder Cup. Starting from the first tee shot, every hole is like walking up 18 at a major, trying to win a major. So the sense of urgency is there, and I've got to flip that switch, and I feel like I've got some teammates to lean on to help me do that.
All right, let me get Harris English out of here. 5 quick questions to go. I'm asking this only because life's been good to be a dog, and I mean DAWG for a while. But what is the most agonizing loss you've ever had to live through as a Georgia fan? You got a handful.
Well, I don't know if you're talking golf or football.
No, football. This is football. We're talking football.
We've had some agonizing losses against Alabama. I remember that SEC championship game right when I got out of school. I think it was 2012.
That's right.
We lost on the final play to win the SEC championship in Atlanta. But we've overcome that. I feel like we've got the right guy at the helm. Kirby Smart has led us in the right direction, and I'm very proud of him as a head coach and what he's done with the program. And I have all the belief in what he's doing.
My most agonizing Georgia game, my freshman year at Vandy, Alan Herline missed a 44-yarder to beat you guys 16-13. It was a tie. That's the closest I came to experiencing real euphoria in a Georgia game. By the way, Vandy has beaten Georgia 20 times in the history of that series. People would be shocked by that. Twice in the last decade, as you're aware. All right, let me get to this. The SEC fan base that chafes you the most. The SEC fan base that you're like, I just can't deal with you people. Who is it?
Probably the Florida fans. We have when everybody asks, like, who is Georgia's biggest rivalry, and for like my dad's generation, the older generation, it was always Georgia Tech. But for us, Georgia Tech has not been a huge rival like it was back in the day. But for us, when I was growing up, Steve Spurrier days, Florida was wearing us out. When I got to college, were the Tim Tebow days. They were unbelievable. Finally, we've kind of turned the tide on them, but they're still my biggest rival.
Okay, your favorite pair of shoes. You like fine things. You like good clothes. What's your favorite pair of shoes?
Every time I go out to dinner, I love wearing some like driving moccasins. I have these like chocolate suede driving moccasins with a little tie on. They're kind of classic shoes. They're very comfortable and can kind of wear with everything.
Not surprised by that answer. All right, what is the best food to eat while driving?
That's a tough one. I try not to do that a whole lot, Gary. Now that I got a 2-year-old usually riding with me and my wife, I would say a Chipotle burrito would probably be, for me, the easiest thing to eat.
Okay, that's clean, that's convenient. To me, the easy answer is French fries. They give it's in a cylinder, it's clean, it's easy. To me, it's fries. All right, last thing, the player on tour with the most hilarious temper.
I love playing with guys that kind of lose their mind for a little bit. I find it funny because we all want to do it. We all want to throw clubs. We want to break clubs. We all have that inside of us, and people show it differently. I would say Brian Harmon probably. When he gets angry, he plays a lot better. So I know when he gets angry, he's about to go on a run. But I still love watching it, and I love seeing highlights of guys breaking clubs or throwing clubs. I find it hilarious because, like I said, we all want to do it. We just handle it differently.
The little angry guy will always be funny. He'll always be hilarious. Hey, listen, you got a presser at top of the hour. I'm happy for the good health. You've had a hell of a year. Look forward to seeing you at Bethpage. Thank you.
Gary, thanks, man. Appreciate you having me on.
You bet. There is Harris English, 11th in the FedEx Cup standings. We come back. Our picks and dogs next on 5 Clubs. Our favorite segment, Dogs of the Week. Send them in. Dogs at 5clubsgolf.com. Here are our dogs, brought to you by Golf Pride, the leader when it comes to grips all around the world. Here is our first dog, Savior, at the Pasadena Yacht and Country Club in St. Petersburg, Florida. What a majestic photograph on the 18th green there. Our next dog is Champ Bunny. The owner is Joy Bonhurst. She's an LPGA and PGA teaching professional at the Blue Marsh Golf Course in Lansonville, Maryland. Our next dog is Layla. That's at Vanderbilt's Legends Club in Brentwood, Tennessee. Layla is an 11-year-old, Great Pyrenees, loves to ride around on the golf course with her owner. That is Larry Kane. Next up, Cooper. Michael Olson's dog. Cooper is a golden doodle pictured at the Oak Brook Golf Club in Oak Brook, Illinois. And finally, Sonny, a 3-year-old Portuguese water dog. Sonny is a trained service dog. He's been to Bandon Dunes, Firestone, Wentworth by the Sea, and Portsmouth, New Hampshire. Favorite rounds, though, are the sunset rounds at Torrington Country Club in Litchfield, Connecticut. What a great photograph. Thank you to everybody for sending in the dogs. All right, here are our picks. Let's take a look at the standings. Emma Carpenter out in front, ahead of Taylor Zarzer. There's Johnson, myself, Gil J, and there is Brendan. Here are our picks very quickly. Scheffler for me, for Johnson Wagner, for Jay Billis. Everybody else is out of Scheffler except for Brendan, who only played him twice. Maybe that's why he's in last. Rory for Taylor and Brendan. Emma Carpenter goes with Harris English, who was just on the show, and Russell Henley for Gil Hance. We hope you enjoy the Tour Championship. Monday, we will be at Mackenzie Hughes' charity event here in Charlotte with a ton of tour players, a 2-hour program. We will see you then.